In this episode, we will be discussing the birds of prey of Alberta. So what is a bird of prey? A predatory bird distinguished by a hooked bill and sharp talons. We will begin our exploration by introducing Alberta's species of hawks. There are 9 species of hawks you can find throughout Alberta. The red-tailed hawk, rough-legged hawk, ferruginous hawk, Swainson's hawk, northern harrier, sharp-shinned hawk, American goshawk, Cooper's hawk, and the broad-winged hawk. The arrival of spring comes with the arrival of hawks. If you were driving on a road or along a highway and saw a hawk perched on the fence post or on top of a light post next to a field or meadow, it would likely be a red-tailed hawk or Swainson's hawk, which are both common hawk species in Alberta. Red-tailed hawks are even found in the city. You can look for them soaring up in the sky in circles overhead. They are named after their beautiful red tail feathers. The red-tailed hawk's iconic cry is often used whenever hawks or eagles of any species appear in a movie. Eagles actually tend to squeak more than shriek. The red-tailed hawk's diet is varied and consists of small mammals like mice, voles, ground squirrels, birds, and reptiles like garter snakes. In flight, red-tailed hawks have a dark edge around their wings, black wingtips, and a dark band running across their belly. When I worked at the Bird Observatory, I worked closely with Keith, the red-tailed hawk, their education ambassador bird. Keith did a wonderful job traveling to classrooms around the city and province, helping me teach kids and adults about the hawks of Alberta. Swainson's hawks, on the other hand, have a very broad dark wing edge, and they have a dark-looking head and neck that creates a hooded appearance. During the breeding season, Swainson's hawks have been found to prey on rodents, rabbits, birds, and snakes, which they will feed to their young. Interestingly, outside of the breeding season, they seem to switch their diet to insects, such as grasshoppers, beetles, and dragonflies. Ferruginous hawks in Alberta are primarily found in the grassland region of southern Alberta, where they prefer uncultivated prairie and pastures. The ferruginous hawk used to benefit from their relationship with bison. When bison roamed the prairies before colonization, ferruginous hawks' nests contained bison bones and hair, along with sticks and twigs. The bulky sticks of their nests are not woven together very easily, so they'll often build their nests on top of pre-existing hawk or crow nests. Rough-legged hawks, or affectionately nicknamed roughies, are a common raptor species in Alberta. They migrate each winter from their nesting grounds in the Arctic, passing through Alberta on their journey south to the States. Ospreys are often referred to as river hawks or fish hawks. However, ospreys actually belong to a separate family of birds called Pandionidae, and they also make their appearance in Alberta as excellent and adorable fishers, often hovering over water and then diving feet first to catch fish. Look for ospreys around bodies of water, marshes, rivers, and ponds. Ospreys build huge stick nests out in the open on poles and dead trees near the water. We highlighted a few of the hawk species that live around Edmonton, Alberta, and introduced our friend the osprey. Next, we're going to learn about falcons. Alberta is home to 5 falcon species: the peregrine falcon, American kestrel, merlin, prairie falcon, and the gerfalcon. Peregrine falcons and merlins are frequently sighted in the city, and they hunt pigeons. We will focus on highlighting a few falcon species. Kestrels are tiny, beautiful falcons with lovely spots. Male kestrels have a bluish-gray band on their wings, whereas females are brown with streaks. The first time I saw one, I was overjoyed. I could not believe just how small they are. They are about 9 to 12 inches in length. Kestrels are nicknamed the sparrowhawk for their size, but this is actually a misnomer. They are in fact true falcons. But it's not easy being small. Many kestrels are preyed on by larger birds of prey, including owls and hawks. Next, we will learn about peregrine falcons, which are much larger compared to kestrels. Peregrine falcons are actually the fastest animal in the world. When diving, they reach speeds of 300 kilometers an hour. They use diving as a way to hunt for prey. Next, we'll hear from Janis about the Peregrine Falcon Watch project in Edmonton and a bit about their conservation story.
A brief historical context I mentioned before, but in the 50s and 60s, there was a big decline in the peregrine falcon population in North America due to the overuse of DDT. And by 1970, the status was endangered. And so there was so they stopped using, they said no more DDT, but they had to get the numbers back up. So they started a very innovative captive breeding program in Alberta, where they would incubate the birds. So they started a very innovative captive breeding program. And then these birds were then reintroduced in the wild, and it made a huge difference. And by the year 2000, the status was upgraded to threatened, which is still not great, but it's an improvement, right? So continue. And so there is an Alberta peregrine falcon recovery plan. And the advisory group is made up of Gordon Court, Jeff Holroyd, Steve Schwartz, and Peter and Bev Fulbrand. Now, Peter and Bev are the ones that started the Peregrine Falcon Fledge Watch. So they are part of that recovery plan. And they started it in 2005. So it's in Edmonton. We do have peregrine falcons nesting in the city. They're cliff dwellers, so they like to be on high buildings. And on some of those buildings, they put up nesting boxes. Being in the city it's great. It's great to have them around, but it's not the safest place for these young ones to be taking their first flights. And with each passing year, more and more tall buildings go up. They're encroaching more on their environment, all sorts of things. So it's almost getting more and more important to be doing the Fledge watches. And Gordon Court had mentioned to Peter that prior to the Fledge watches, the survival rate was 11% of these fledglings from these urban sites, and with the Fledge watch, it's 80%. So it's a big difference. What the Fledge watch does, the peregrine falcon fledglings will take their first flight when they're around 42 to 44 days old. So we set up the Fledge watch when they're 38 days, just in case something happens sooner. And we have a schedule. We get as many volunteers as we can. And we set up a schedule from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, so that we make sure that there are shifts and that there's somebody watching the nesting boxes all the time. And then when the peregrine falcon fledglings take their first flight, there can be all sorts of things that go wrong. It can be a windy day, and it can bash them up against the side of a building, or they can fly into a window, or they can have been out on the rungs and it was rainy, and so their feathers are hanging. So when they fly, it's really important that they maintain a reasonable altitude, a height. And if it's been rainy and their feathers are wet, they'll come down. So we watch and we see what happens to them. If they come to the ground, we will go and rescue them. And part of that is, I've seen them come to ground and immediately magpies start to migrate. Or, they come to ground and they're right beside a busy street. So we pick them up and a veterinary technician checks them out to see if they're injured at all. If they're not injured, they can sometimes they're put back up on the roof to be given another chance. Another option is to just take them out to a controlled release site west of Edmonton. And that's a safer place for them to fledge. If they are injured, then they go to Wild North for some treatment. If they recover quickly and there's no broken bones, and same thing, they can either be put back up.
Next, Janis shares how she got involved with the Peregrine Falcon Watch.
I worked at the University of Alberta, and I had a friend who said, "Oh, you got to come and see, the Fledge Watch, because they're up on a parkade near where the nesting box is." And so during our lunch hour, we would go and check it out, and that's how I learned to know about it. And at first, I was just going with my camera, and then more and more, I got more involved, so that I became an actual volunteer. And then this past summer, I actually organized 2 of the watches. So we usually only have 1 watch at the university area. But this year, they were slow in getting hatching some eggs. And so I said, "Oh, okay, I'll do one in the West End." And so we did that, and it was good to have done it. But then these ones did produce some eggs. So then we had to go back to UVA after this one was done and do a second watch. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I had no experience whatsoever. And if you go on a shift, you'll be paired with somebody who has experience and knows what to do. And not everybody is necessarily involved in the rescuing part, because some people say that's too much. But just to have eyes there so that we know where they are and what's happened. And if you're an inexperienced volunteer, all you have to do is watch where they go and make sure you know exactly where they landed, and then text the people who can come and rescue them if needed. So, but it's just, and part of it is just a lot of time watching pigeons and nothing's happening. And then, whoa, pretty exciting and high drama. And then once they fledge, the young ones, if they have siblings, they'll start playing tag and doing all sorts of stuff. It's really cool. And, a lot of people don't even know that we have peregrine falcons in the city. They're walking by. I mean, if you don't know, you just be a bird in the sky. Yeah. But it's really exciting to just go and spend time watching their activities. We're all part of the environment, right? And birds are one part. Humans are only one part of the environment. And so we have to care about all living things. And there's the whole cycle of life, and every living thing is doing its part to keep the environment healthy. And birds do that as well. So, and they just bring so much beauty to the world and life and song. And if we started losing them, our lives would be so much poorer for it. There's one nesting box in the West End, and the peregrines there would go to West Edmonton Mall on the roller coaster wall there. There's signage, and these are cliff-dwelling birds, and that's a beautiful place. And so the adults spend every day over there, You can still see their nesting box, but they're over there. And then when the fledglings start to fly, they take them there because it's a very good place for them to perch and nice open space above the parking to fly. And this past summer, right at the start of the Fledge watch, I noticed that there was a big lift over at that wall. I could see it through my spotting scope. And so I contacted them and I said, what's happening over there? And they said, oh, we're putting bird deterrents on the signage. Now, they had their own good business reasons for doing it. And it wasn't just the peregrines, it was the pigeons and the ravens and everything, but it was, making a mess, and there was corpses on the ground, making a mess. So, but I said, this is the worst possible time for you to be doing this, because these peregrine fledglings are about to fly for the first time, and that's where the parents tend to take them. So they won't have had time to adjust to this. And they said, sorry, it'll cost too much money not to do it right now, because we've rented this extra toll lift. So, okay. And so it's very sad because, it was a really good place to go. So when the fledgling took flight, it went straight west and flew over West Edmonton Mall, and we couldn't find it that day. So I went back first thing in the morning, and I could see the parents sitting on the signage that didn't have deterrents on it yet, and they were looking down. So if you're looking for a fledgling, find the parents. So I'll show you. So I went around, and it was ironically sitting on top of the lift that they were using to put up the deterrents on the signage. So the lift had been brought to the ground, and it was sitting on it. Now, fledglings need space to take off again. And in that confined space, it was never going to be able to get out of there. And the only option was for it to fly north, which would mean it would fly into a parking lot onto a busy street. So it had to be rescued. But the workers were there already, and they were crashing around their tools on the, right close to this fledgling. They knew it was there. And I said, okay, can you stop? Because that bird is not going to be able to get out of here successfully, and we need to rescue it. Nope, they wouldn't stop. Now, we had already made contact with the West Edmonton Mall, and security knew about it, and they're super security at West Edmonton Mall, totally all over this. They love it. And it was shared with maintenance people as well. So they knew, and we had given heads up. But this company that had been hired, they just wanted to get their job done. I was boiling. So anyway, I contacted Peter and Bev, and Peter came right. Bev contacted security. So security came out, told these guys, you gotta stop. Then Peter and I have done a number of rescues together, and he went in, and what you try and do is you try and put a blanket over the fledgling, and they're kind of a little bit clued out. They don't really know what to expect, so that can happen. But I was concerned that it was going to fly towards the parking lot, and there was a construction fence, one of those, chain type fence. So I stood on the other side of the fence so that I could run if it could do that way. But what it did was it flew away from Peter, and then it started to fly straight at me, and I was standing behind the fence, so it was going to hit the fence. So I was going, oh. And so it did hit the fence, but a little lightly, and then it ended up trying to get through a gap in the fence, and so I managed to grab it as it was coming through. She was fine, and she went out to the controlled release site in west of Edmonton, and a couple of weeks later, Peter and I drove out there together, and we're down on the riverbank, and the box is way up there. But once somebody else was, Steve Schwartz was sitting in a high right by the place where they go for food, and he had his camera, and so we saw this one fledgling up there, and Steve texted down to us saying, "That's P33. That's one we just rescued." So we were able to see her out in this beautiful, cliffs and the river and all the other fledglings out there. So it was very rewarding.
Janis shares another remarkable story from her experience with the Falcon Watch.
A cool thing. In 2020, at the U of A site, one of the fledglings, E36, is his band number. And he was put back up, and then he fledged successfully. In 2022, over in the West End here, I went to see, if the parents had returned and who they were. And I managed to grab a photo of the one peregrine that was there, and zoomed in on the ID band, and it was E36. So we had rescued him 2 years prior to that, at the university. And then 2 years later, he was back in the West End, and he's the dad at the West End nesting box. So he was there 2022, 2023, and 2024. That's really exciting.
Special.
We held that peregrine, and now it's doing its thing.
I was so grateful to Janis for sharing her peregrine falcon footage with us. Her passion for falcon conservation is inspiring, and I am so grateful that there are people in the community like her who are volunteering their time and energy to help conserve these beautiful birds of prey. Next, we'll be focusing on the adorable and elusive owls of Alberta. Alberta is home to several species of owls: the northern saw-whet owl, northern pygmy owl, boreal owl, burrowing owl, northern hawk owl, eastern and western screech owl, snowy owl, great horned owl, barred owl, short-eared owl, long-eared owl, and the great gray owl. Owls have many special features compared to other birds. For example, they can turn their head 270 degrees around. That's because they have twice as many vertebrae in their neck than we do. Owls also have a comb-like structure on the edge of their wings, which help to break up sound, meaning they can almost fly completely silently, helping them to catch unsuspecting mice. Owls are mostly known to be creatures of the night. Great horned owls, for example, are so common in Alberta, they're actually our provincial bird. Great horned owls are primarily nocturnal, but there are a few of our owls that are diurnal, meaning that they can be active in both the day and nighttime. Great horned owls build large stick nests in tall trees. They begin nesting in Alberta in late February and early March. Many people are surprised to learn that great horned owls can live up to 30 years in captivity and up to 20 years in the wild. When gripping, a great horned owl's talons require the force of 28 pounds to release. Great horned owls use this grip when catching and crushing their prey. Great horned owls mate for life, and they defend their territory by singing synchronized duets. You can hear the beautiful duet here. Next, we'll focus on another very common owl species in Alberta, the northern saw-whet owl. Owls' eyes are so large that they can't actually move their eyes in their head. That's why they've adapted the unique ability to rotate their heads. Saw-whet owls are the second smallest owl in the province, and their call sounds like a truck backing up. These tiny owls won't eat a whole mouse at once. Rather, they'll store half of that mouse for later. However, the second half of that mouse will freeze, so they will actually have to sit on their food to heat it up, kind of like how we heat up our leftovers in the microwave. In my work at Beaver Hill Bird Observatory, I was grateful to band many of these sweet little saw-whets. When owls and birds are given a band with a unique number on them, it helps researchers track their movements and better understand their migration patterns. As soon as they are banded and measurements have been taken, including their weight and age, they are released back into the wild. On some nights, I was lucky enough to witness the beautiful northern lights.
One that I have a special fondness for is the saw-whet owl. And I have a special fondness for this bird because I've had a chance to work with them in the past. And people are often really surprised when they hear about it because this owl is the size of a pop can. So it's this little saw-whet owl, and yet they are a species that has an important role in the environment. They're important predators of small rodents. And so what we might consider a pest species. So they have this important role in the environment. They're also really adorable, and they make a lovely, their call sounds like the beep of a truck backing up. So if ever you're outside of the city and you hear the beep, 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 it may not be a truck backing up, it might be a saw-whet owl. So that's my favorite, one of my favorite bird species.
An owl that is very similar in size but with longer legs is the burr-wing owl. Burr-wing owls are grassland owls, and they are endangered, so we will be learning more about their conservation in our episode on endangered and threatened species, so please check that out to learn more about their story. Today we talked about some hawks, falcons, and owls that live in Alberta. There are some other birds of prey that play an important role in our ecosystem, such as vultures and eagles. All of our birds of prey play an important role in our ecosystem for keeping rodent populations down. They can also be important environmental indicators. Birds of prey can also save farmers significant amounts of money, even tens of thousands of dollars, by helping reduce pest populations. Our birds of prey are amazing. They can fly for hours at a time without landing. They also have a third eyelid called a nictitating membrane. This third eyelid helps our birds of prey when they're flying to protect their eyes from dust. Thank you so much for taking some time to learn about the birds of prey of Alberta. I hope you learned something new, and keep your eyes to the sky.